Thank you. I'm on, right? I think the audio cut out because that intro was getting way too grand and exaggerated. But that's a lot to live up to. I love the auction idea. Nice job, Mark and Franklin. I think you're the big winner. Everybody's a big winner. We're going to have a lot of great sessions over these next few days, and we're really excited to be kicking it off. So here we are in Texas, part of what was once the great American frontier, right? That forefront of exploration and settling of the country. And then, of course, over the last, a few weeks ago, we have this renewed embarking upon that next chapter of space exploration with Artemis II that I think Brian alluded to even earlier in his talk today. These days, we're all immersed in AI. And so we need to kind of consider, you can really consider AI our next big frontier, you know, from the American frontier to the space frontier, that final frontier for you Trekkies, to the new AI frontier, if you will. It's that forefront of exploration, of discovery and development of new capabilities and new technologies that we're all just trying to keep up with. And it's moving really fast, right? And just when you think you're on the forefront and you're catching up, it expands even further. It's both exciting and exhausting at the same time for all of us. But you know, we're all living this in our daily lives, personally, professionally, having to continue to learn. All of our organizations really just struggling to make sure that we're staying on top of the technology and taking advantage of it as much as you need to. And for us as AI platform and software providers, you know, our challenge is to make sure that we are staying on that cutting edge to bring you the capabilities that you're expecting as well. So there's a lot going on in this space. Every frontier has its challenges, of course. And you know, in terms of challenges, that's where strong partnerships really help out and really come into play. If you're trying to do it on your own these days, you're really going to struggle and really kind of foolish to even do so. Partnerships are the way to go. Jen focused on that earlier in main stage, and for us, we have a partnership, and our partnership with our that extends to our partnerships with our customers. But for SAS and Microsoft, we're going on our 7th year of partnership right now, of strong technology developments and making sure that we're collaborating to bring you the best of all the capabilities that we both provide together. You know, deep, efficient, optimized integrations of our technologies. A shared commitment and focus on democratizing analytics for innovation across your organizations, ensuring trust in every decision through a robust, secure, and flexible cloud architecture, and then really just bringing the experience and expertise of our organizations together for the benefit of you all, the customers that we serve. And of course, you know, going along with that is our direct alignment of the SAS trustworthy AI principles laid out by our data ethics practice that Reggie focused on a lot this morning with the Microsoft AI principles. They go hand in hand, and that just kind of ensures that all of our efforts start and end with a focus on ensuring that humans stay at the forefront. You know, Brian said it way more eloquently and profoundly than I can around to you all today, that humans do matter. And so making sure that stays at the forefront of all of our efforts is really important to us and to the benefit of you all. Now, I want to kind of focus on some of the efforts and the developments in our collaboration over the years of our partnership here. I know this is a bit of an eyesore. Is this on? It dropped again, right? Am I on? I think we lost it again. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna talk really loud. So this is a bit of an eye chart, right? I understand that, and so I just want to point out a few things here. First, obviously, SAS Viya deployed on Azure. SAS Viya and our solutions available and running natively on Azure. And I'm sorry if I'm yelling in your earphones right now. And not only directly in your environments, but hosted through our managed cloud services as well. So we can host those environments for you. Data connectors for Azure Data Lake Storage, OneLake, Azure Synapse, just to make sure we have connectivity into the data that you're working with, where it resides. You've hopefully heard a bit about our packaged models, the SAS models that operate, that focus on specific use cases and operate in Azure ML and Copilot. Workbench and DataMaker, offerings that are relatively new over the last year, available on Azure through Microsoft Marketplace. Fabric, we have a decision builder there we go. A decision builder workload that runs natively in Fabric for decision flows. And you see a number of other things here. I'm not going to go through them all. Again, take a picture of roadmap items, our vision towards the future. Just really wanted to convey a lot of different very specific and tangible benefits and outcomes from the partnership that we have. What I want to do now, though, is kind of focus specifically on Viya Copilot. And to kind of set the stage for the rest of the talk here. And I'm sure by now you've heard at least enough about Viya Copilot that you understand the concept. There's all sorts of activities and tasks across the whole AI lifecycle where we could really benefit from having this sort of assistant sitting side by side with you, and that's what Copilot is all about. Here is just just a sampling of a few of the Copilots, just to give you an idea. I know it's small and it's flashing through really quickly, but you get the idea that whatever application you're in across the whole AI lifecycle, you have this assistant sitting next to you where you can ask it questions, get some instructions and information about how to do things, and maybe take action as well. So again, not going to go through these in detail here. Please stop by our SAS Viya Copilot booth. We've got a Copilot roadmap session later on today. So make sure you visit those to see more details. What I do want to do is kind of give you a bit of a peek behind the scenes of what's behind this. And if you were here last year, we've been working on this for a while. We've shown kind of this conceptual architecture, but maybe you all haven't seen it. But I think it's important because it kind of speaks to, again, the benefits of that partnership and that technology collaboration that we have with Microsoft to kind of build out this whole platform or framework behind the scenes based on trusted, reliable, robust services in Azure that we can take advantage of and don't have to build that out ourselves. Things for like API management for access to this, back-end capabilities for all the models available in AI Foundry, AI search capabilities that we take advantage of for our RAG capabilities, and then of course all the guardrails that we can get out of the box provided by these AI services that Microsoft provides. So this whole right side is really just a service that we provide, that we're running in our own subscription. This left side here is your environment, your SAS Viya. So you don't have to be an Azure customer to take advantage of this. That's us on the back end. Your Viya environment hooks into our Copilot service that's running on the back end there. So if you don't have Copilot today, it runs in Viya 4. So that's one prereq. You have to have Viya 4. And it's from the December release of 2025 onward. So if you have that release and you're not seeing Copilot, talk to your administrator, because it's just a simple configuration to get it exposed. Okay, so that's all about Copilot, and our initial efforts with Copilot really were focused on ensuring that we're providing that some assistance to the user, that sort of sitting side by side to inform the user, instruct the user, help the user make some decisions. Yes, do some generation for coding, maybe some objects within the applications, but really kind of one task at a time, and very intentionally focused on ensuring that we start with that human-in-the-loop perspective, that the humans always have that level of oversight. Well, of course, over the last year, everything is agentic, right? And agents are just thrown in our face everywhere. Well, for good reason, because they can do a lot for us when done right and done responsibly. And so our efforts more recently have been around going from just assistive AI within our Copilot to action-oriented AI, and that's all about agentifying Copilot, and so that Copilot can respond to queries and goals that you set out and actually work through multiple tasks to accomplish those goals, accessing the various Viya tools available to it across the full AI lifecycle that we have, really kind of building in that level of automation, but in a governed sense because you're using the whole governed framework of SAS Viya. So I think I lost it again. All right. It's breaking my mojo here. I'm going to yell again until this comes back on. Actually, Ben's going to have to yell because he's been waiting very patiently to chime in, and I'm going to turn it over to Ben to talk about, again, some of the benefits that we get from that partnership, from all of the everything they have available around supporting agents and building agents and managing agents. So, Ben, start yelling. Get your voice going. Now.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, now it's going to yell. Thank you, Brett, for the tee up. I'm going to try and communicate as well as Brett's been communicating. So one of the things I wanted to tee up for us is that I get asked all the time in my role, there's all these agents and there's all these ways to build agents. But which tool do I use for which agent? And I don't really know what to do with which tool. And it's overwhelming because everything builds an agent as easy as pie, or it's as complex, and we don't know what to choose. So I wanted to break down the different ways that Microsoft has provided agents available to be built, but also overlay that with how SAS has been a shining example of what we call a frontier firm, which means two things to Microsoft. A frontier firm is someone that is leading the way, is on the bleeding edge, is becoming the frontier, as Brett has alluded to in the beginning and Brian alluded to. But it's also something that you get as a frontier firm, as a Microsoft partner, where you get access to these products ahead of time, you become beta testers, you become part of the feedback loop. And SAS has been a shining example end to end on this. So I'm going to go through from simple to complex on how you use this. Am I saying too loud in the microphone, or is it okay? Okay. So from Microsoft 365 Agent Builder, this is your no coding environment. This is you're not meant to code. This is your business users. This is someone that is primarily chatting with your interfaces, right? This is going to be very highly restricted, very low customization, because you want to give power, but very controlled power to these business users. SAS is a shining example of using this because they provided this power to their marketing team, and their marketing team created an agent to help them go through the product marketing naming conventions. So they created an agent that can help them come up with the best names across all of their data and their internal data to make sure that they're providing the right names available. Low coding is our Copilot Studio version of this. So this is where you get a bit more complex, a bit more customization, but also a bit more flexibility with what the user is and what they're primarily able to do. So you now get access to MCP and A2A connections. You get built-in evaluations now. You're getting more towards this higher development requirement cycle, but you're still on the lower complex area. SAS is another great example. They built an RFP agent. An RFP agent is how you ingest an RFP, can evaluate the RFP, go against all the different RFP answers that you get, and provide answers to get a best first draft that then becomes human in the loop. That process took 4 or 7 hours per each RFP and now takes 15 minutes. All built by SAS and low coding. It's an amazing value prop for users in this space. Then we get into what I call coding companion. It's GitHub Copilot, right? And this may seem like it could be no coding, but it is meant for coding companions, where it does coding generation, it has access to Claude models, and it has access to ChatGPT models, and it also has your enterprise guardrails and all the access to your data pieces of it. And SAS has been a shining example across their entire R&D organization, being a strong adopter of GitHub Copilot. And lastly, you have the most complex view of this, right? This is the pro code view where you now have taken most of the business users are not touching it because they don't have the skills or expertise, and we don't want them to have the skills or expertise. But we want them to be able to develop and have a bunch of flexibility and customization, which this is where Viya Copilot was developed. So you can see how you're moving across the scale of simple to complexity and how kind of the capability of what you can build will also scale with that. And again, I want to just underscore that SAS is on the frontier doing this. They're not only a frontier firm embedding this within their own organization, adopting these tools, they're embedding this within their external products like Viya Copilot. They're testing it on themselves to make sure that they are the best beta testers, and they're taking advantage of the Frontier Firm program that Microsoft provides. I'll give you my speaking power.
Follow up on the comment and the notion of the frontier firm and what that actually does for us, and by extension to provide benefits to all of you. We essentially serve as customer zero, if you will, for using all of these capabilities and these frameworks to figure out how to best build and manage and execute and orchestrate agents for all the different types of use cases, so that when we come to you, again, that partnership, we have that partnership with you, we've been through that experience, and we can give you that guidance on how to use that within your organizations as well. The other point I wanted to follow up on here is the the notion of using the right tool for the right use case, because Ben walked through all sorts of different usages for each of these different levels. As we started out looking at how we can provide our capabilities to external agents, we found very quickly, well, we couldn't do that within App Builder, because what we're trying to do is provide an MCP server to our capabilities here, our internal tools that we're using behind Copilot, provide those same tools to you externally to build your own agents. And for that, Copilot Studio makes that very easy to go in and just point to your MCP server, define some of the specifications around your agent, and you're off and running. So we did that actually pretty quickly. All the work for us was in building out the MCP server on our back end, but hooking it into an agent defined in Copilot Studio was pretty straightforward. So I know we're running short on time here. I'm just going to run through this really quickly to give you a sense. You're working in the environment that you're familiar with, your communication and workplace collaboration environment, and just interrogating Viya on the back end through an agent as if it's a coworker here. So you can ask it, here I just asked it, okay, what kind of tools do you have available to you? And you see from that MCP server, it has tools available across the whole AI lifecycle here. And then you just start interacting with it to maybe query your data. What kind of data is available? It will go off and use the Viya APIs on the back end through that MCP server to interrogate the full inventory of data available, give you full descriptions, categorize all of that, maybe dive a little deeper what's in a certain library. It'll pull out the whole inventory of tables in that library, and even just use some of its own generative AI NLP capabilities to describe what domain it looks like. That didn't come from the metadata. It pulled it directly. It kind of inferred that from the data that it found from there. So again, you can just continue on, profile the data deeper. It will use APIs on the back end, tapping into the Viya environment to interrogate and profile that data, give you all sorts of information about the data. Again, here, working within your common workplace environment. You don't have to go into the Viya applications to do all of this. The MCP server and this agent provides a window into that, use it within the environment that you're just naturally working. So then you can continue on, ask it for visualizations, build predictive models, explore things further. Everything that you could do across the full AI lifecycle, you can do through these MCP servers. And just to prove the point here, if I asked it to visualize it, it actually created a VA report on the back end so that I can now go in and work with it within that application if I want to. The same thing occurs with modeling, and you saw that this morning where it builds a predictive model studio pipeline for predictions. So hopefully that's a bit of a teaser here. It kicked off a pipeline to go generate a model. I'm going to skip forward now in the interest of time. I know it feels like Ben and I were chatting. He said it kind of feels like we're leaving him breadcrumbs here. What I want to do is invite you to our agentic AI roadmap session later on in the afternoon, where we're going to cover not only what we're doing with MCP and building agents, but there's all sorts of other capabilities around agents and agentic AI that we're working on. You're seeing snippets of it here and there on main stage and talking maybe to different people at the booths. We're going to pull that all together in that session this afternoon. Speaking of booths, definitely come by to see Microsoft talk more about what they offer in terms of building out agents and using their agent frameworks. Of course, we've got the Agentic AI booth. We've got the Copilot booth. You can scan the QR code to visit our Copilot site and learn more about how you can make sure that you're getting that and taking advantage of that. And then we do have an MCP server available for you today on GitHub that is an open source version of it with a set of tools in it that you could start using as we continue to build out MCP servers baked into the Viya deployment. So that link there will take you to the web page that kind of gives you more information about how to do that. So with that, I'm going to close out. Thank you for your attention.